I'm Judy, and today I'm gonna introduce to you about my favorite book ever, The Rainbow Truths by the Indonesian author Andrea Hirata, which is also a real life storybook. So let's get started. Well, I read it 4 years ago, but if anyone asked me about like one of the book I had the most impact on me and making me always wanted to be a better person, always answer the rainbow truths. So back then, I used to complain a lot to school every day. Like all of the concern that a teenage girl or a teenage boy used to have. Until I read this book, I realized how privileged I am. Growing up in the environment where there are many fortunate kids and fortunate people, maybe you too. So it's quite difficult for us sometimes to imagine the priceless things that we are being given. I get to go to a quite good school. I have good friends. I have good teachers. I have all of the means to study effectively. And it can be said that it is extremely fortunate. So back to the Rainbow Troops. The book tells the story of a school, all of the students who are to the poorest of the poor students. So the school is almost on the edge of collapse, and teaching materials are lacking, and the students are, like I said, the poorest in the whole nation of Indonesia. And can you imagine that on the very first day of school, these children had to face to the school being closed? Yes, the school is closed at right on the first days of school because the school was considered to be very remote and not worth the attention of the government. And that's not all. To tell you about the difficulties of this school, I could sit here and talk about that all day long, but let me give you an idea. Okay, now imagine you're one of the 11 students of Muhammadiyah school, and you are now one of the poorest children in the whole Indonesia. Going to school for your family is very serious consideration because the family doesn't have even enough to eat, let alone send a child to school. The school you go is too far away, and the facilities are lacking everything. Imagine, according to the book, in the tropical weather of Indonesia, there are days when you are sitting in class and it suddenly starts raining heavily, and the classroom are almost under decorated, and even the whole school doesn't have the decent toilet, and every time you want to go to the toilet, you have to go outside to the base of a tree. Can you even imagine that? And also, the whole school just have two teachers. One is the principal, Mr. Haffen, and one is Miss Mus, the only teacher, which is she's only 15 years old and just graduated from secondary school. But here are some of the lessons I learned the most from it. The first one is the story of the character Lintang. I definitely have write a long story about this character, Lintang. So first of all, Lintang family was very poor, and if 11 students who go to that school was already poor, Lintang must be the poorest of them all. None of Lintang family's member can read, but Lintang, who is extremely intelligent and hardworking, is the hope of the whole family. Every day he had to wake up very early in the morning. Cycle, you can imagine 80 kilometers round trip to go to school and go back, crossing a river even full of crocodiles. Yeah, crocodile. Can you imagine that? He once had to sell his mother wedding ring just to buy the cycle, like the cycle chain to get to go to school. In other words, we can say that Lin Tang puts his life on the line every day to go just to go to school, and this by being so intelligent. The sad thing is, like, what truly hurt me the most is Lintang life is extremely twisted. Lintang is just one of thousands of intelligent children in Indonesia back then who are unfortunate to born in a very poor family despite how intelligent or how hardworking he is. So there's no way out, which is kind of like really sad and only that ends. So I read the book like in total 3 times, and every single time I cried my heart out for Linda. However, there's one very sad thing I heard about this character because the whole book is a real life story. So during my summer school in Singapore, I had a chance to talk to some Indonesian friends. The good news is that Rainbow Troop is like extremely famous in Indonesia. And the bad news is that the real life Lintang has a life that has down to a dead end, filled with poverty and hardships. And when I heard that news, my heart ached because I valued this character so much. So besides Lindang, the second stories I want to share is about the warriors, the troops, with their own dreams and aspirations. So like I said, like 11 students in the Muhammadiyah school is almost the poorest kids of the whole nation. Like they're, but they do have like dreams themselves. There's a lot of, as elementary school kids, they hold a lot of like ideals, like Siadan who dreams of becoming a doctor, Akyong of being the captain, Kukai ambition to be the politician, um, so so on and so on. After the graduation, each of them goes their own way, and not everyone achieved the dream. I would say almost of them not achieved the dream. And Lin Dang, like I say, with his exceptional intelligence, they could have become like his dream, become the famous mathematician. But 3 months just before his graduating exam, his father passed away, and Lin Tang was forced to drop out of school because become the breadwinner for the family and supporting over 10 people in his family. And Lin Tang's dream was shattered, like many others' hope. And the Rainbow Truth is not only the story about the poor students, it's also the picture of reflecting the state of education and a society in Indonesia at that time. Unlike many other books where you kind of heard all of the story like about dreams and a familiar motive of dream it and you will get it. Rainbow Troops is a real wake-up call for me. The poor children at Muhammadiyah School, if given investment and opportunities, could perhaps become so much outstanding, even like so much more potential than me myself. However, life is not a dream, and the fate of almost all the students at that school, because of the family backgrounds, stuck with a cycle of poverty and hardship. Throughout the book, I realized how lucky I am, and I realized that after all, the rainbow did not always appear after the rain. The children of Muhammadiyah school did not achieve their ideals, and they once again lived in poverty and hardship, just like their parents, despite all of the goodness, all of the hardship, all of the the hardworking capability that they tried out. So perhaps in Vietnam, my country too, I once believed that effort and hard work alone would make wouldn't always make the difference. The story is so much more complicated than that. So with this book, and because I realize how privileged, fortunate I am with all of this possibility, so my goal is to being able to use all of the advantage that I have been given to be a financially good person, and I could somehow contribute that to the field of education or to support at least to help the children, especially in the underprivileged area, become somehow better. Because the whole story of the Rainbow Troop is truly heart touching. And yeah, a little I hope that my sharing can fuel your some of your curiosity to read that book. And I honestly recommend highly recommend the book for you because this was one of the one that totally changed my life and changed the perspective of like how fortunate I am and how privileged of being given a chance to go to school. So yeah, that's all of my sharing. Thank you for listening to my speech and good luck to all of the participants and see you again.